To Dorito's Corner. In this video I'll be sharing with you how I make okra stew or okra stew. So I'm taking you guys all the way to Labadi. Okay, so I have some very simple ingredients that I have here. So to start with, I'm gonna begin by seasoning my protein. So this is my goat meat. This is my cow skin. It's called wele. We call it wele. And this is the fish that is going to go with. So I'm going to begin by putting all the meat together here. My protein and the wele together. And then I'm going to season it with 1 stock cube. A little bit of salt to marinate my meat. And then I'm going to put a little bit of water, just a little bit of water to it to cook with it. So it's going to go in the stove for probably 15 to 20 minutes until it's tender. Alright? So it's going to go on the stove here. And whilst it's cooking, I'm going to prep my okra. So with the okra, it's already been washed nicely. And I'm going to cut it up in little pieces. It's totally up to you however you want it sliced. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to slice them in round shapes. Okay, so it doesn't really matter how you want to slice it, but this is how I'm going to make it. I'm going to slice it in round shape. And once you cook it, it's definitely going to break apart into pieces. So it doesn't really matter with the size on how you slice your okra. So I'm going to slice it up all the way. And I said earlier, the okra is already washed. And you want to learn how I wash my vegetables, you can go look at my video how I prep my fruits and vegetables. And I'll put the link in the description box below. Alright, so I'm going to slice all this up and then I'll come back and continue. Cutting all the okra. Now it is ready to go on the stove. So I add 1 cup of hot water to it. And then I add a little bit of salt to it. I don't add baking soda to my okra because it is fresh and I'm going to omit tomatoes. So if you add baking, you're adding tomatoes to your soup, then you need to add baking soda to your okra to make it slimy. But with this recipe, I'm not adding no baking soda and I'm not adding tomatoes to my okra stew. So I'm taking out the okra stew and then the baking soda, and it's gonna be just fine, and it will just be slimy as I want it. So always get your okras when it's fresh, but if you don't get the fresh okra, you can go with the frozen one. I just prefer the fresh ones, and I try to save it, store as much as I can when it's in season. So when it get out of season, I have stuff stored in my freezer and always use it when I need it. Okay, so I'll show you guys later how I prep. I cut and prep my okra and store them for a future use. So I'm gonna put this on the stove as well, and then I'm going to show you guys how my meat is looking so far. It is really looking good. It's coming along very fine. I'm gonna, you see, again, more stock to it, and that is just fine. So the cow skin is still a little hard. I'm gonna give it additional 10 minutes, but the goat meat is looking really fine and tender. It's almost done, so by the 10 more minutes it's gonna be fine. So I'm going to cover it up and let it cook for additional 10 minutes. And with my okra, I'm going to add a half of onion to my okra to cook it. It's optional. It's totally up to you if you want to do that. But it helps I like the flavor it brings whenever I add the onion to my okra when I'm cooking it. Okay, so it's totally up to you if you want to go with this or omit this. Okay, so I'm just gonna add these to my okra to cook it. So whilst my okra is also cooking, now I'm prepping everything is like on its own. I'm going to going to clean out my crabs as well. Okay, crab has its own way of cleaning them. You can omit this aspect. You don't have to do this, but this is how I was taught, and I prefer to do it this way. Okay, so I take out this side here, take this side here. I usually like the smaller crabs. That is the perfect way, like a perfect size for your stews is the little ones, the small tiny ones, but I wasn't able to find it at the store. This is all that I got when I went to the crab shop, so I'll still go with it and I'll still get my calcium out of these. Okay, so I take all the tips out, the fingernails, the nails out like that, and then I cut the side off, and then I cut this side also off. This one too, I cut it off, and then this part is usually a dirt that is accumulated down there, so I just scrape it off. I scrape it off, all off. I do the same thing to the other side as well. I scrape it, and then I put it in water. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Just like I do it, just like that. Take out the eyes. Take out the eyes as well. Scrape this side. This one doesn't really look dirty. You can take it out, or you can just rub your hands over here. When you rub your hands, it also takes away the dirt. So this side, I'm going to rub my hands over there. You see, it took out the dirt. Okay, so just like I did with the other ones, I'm doing it with these also. And then because it's big, I'm going to cut it into two with a line, just like these. Here we go. So that's it. And I'm going to cut the other one too into two, so you have like a decent amount of size for your. So I have the claws. Also, I'm chopping up the claws. So that aspect is also done. Well, now I'm gonna wait till my meat is almost done, and then my okra is also done, and then we'll put everything together. So this is our protein, our cow skin, wele, and then the goat meat is looking very good. It's tender, just the way I want it. So okay. And just the way I want it. So I'm gonna take it off, and I'm gonna begin with the stew. And also the okra. This is the okra. This is how the okra is looking. You see, without the baking soda, it's still slimy, just the way I want it. So you don't have to overcook your okra. You just cook it for probably 5 to 8 minutes, and it is ready because it's gonna go back on the stove. So I have it off, and I'm gonna start with the stew. My stew by adding palm oil, just about enough for my stew. This is probably like 1 cup, and I'm going to let it heat up a little bit. And then whilst it's heating up, I'm gonna slice some onions for the stew. So that one goes to the side. And then I'm going to blend up some stuff for this stew as well. So I have onions, and then I add some habanero peppers. These ones are sweet peppers. I'm just going to put them on the side. And this is garlic. And then this is sweet peppers as well. And then I'm going to add some real bell pepper to it. It's really optional. It's not really necessary you have to add it. But I try to put as much vegetables as I can, as to infuse some nutrients into whatever that my kids may like. Okay, so it's optional, you don't have to add it. Okay, so my oil, then I put the the sliced onions in there. So I'm going to fry the onion for at least 3 minutes in there. That my onions is really fried, I'm going to add up the blended up ingredients, and it's gonna be the onions, the bell peppers, and then some garlic. Okay, and it goes in. Just use a little bit of water to rinse my blender. So I'm going to let it cook until oil begins to form on the surface. Okay, I'm gonna cover it up. So now oil has formed at the surface of it. So I'm going to add my stock from my protein earlier. So I just add that, and I'm going to let it cook for additional 5 minutes, and then I'll add in the protein into it. So and it's looking really good. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of fish powder to it, and I like the flavor that it gives to it. Okay, and I'm going to add my stock cube, and then I'm going to add my crabs. Crabs goes in. Yes, I like my crabs. And crab goes in, and then my meat goes in as well. So at this point my stove is on a very low heat because everything is already done except the crabs. And the crabs doesn't take that long. It doesn't take long to cook at all. So I have everything in there. I'm going to add my fish also. So if you haven't seen my fish mackerel video, please go look for it. Go to my channel. But as always, I'm going to link it in the description box below so you can check it out. Okay, how to grill mackerel. So that's what I'm gonna go for, mackerel. It goes in as well. So you see all the proteins. The proteins are already done. The mackerel is not done yet. It's already done also. So that's why I put that in last. And this is how it looks. I'm gonna make sure everything infused in there. And also the only thing we're waiting for it to cook is the crabs, and the crabs doesn't take that long to cook. Okay, so I'm going to cover it up and give it a few minutes, and then I'm gonna add my corn dough. When I did the corn dough video, this is how I prep them and freeze it in the freezer, and I already took a couple out that I'm going to cook for this video. So it's already thawed out, and that's what I'm gonna add the corn cassava dough to it, and I'm going to cook it. Okay, all right, so I have it here already thawed out, and as you can see, this is the corn dough right on top of it. So I'm just gonna mix it in together. There's a corn dough and the cassava dough mixed in together, and that's what I'm gonna use for my banku. And then I add salt to it, and then it goes on the stove. So this is how it's gonna be like, but I'm going to add some more water to it. I always mix my corn dough with hot water. When you add hot water, it cooks faster because the water is already hot, and then when you add the water to the corn dough, it makes it easy for it to cook. So I'm going to stir it. I'm going to stir it gently until it hardens up. It hardens up, okay? Helper here today helping me stir. He's under training, so he's learning how to stir the banku. So I'm going to add my okra. Now that everything is done, I'm going to add my okra to my stew. So I have my okra here, and this is it. I'm going to stir, get everything incorporated. And don't forget to put your stove on a very low heat whilst you're stirring. Okay. I didn't put a lot of oil, palm oil, because usually with the okra stew, the oil will come to the surface. Once it's done, you see the oil will come right into the surface. That is why I don't want to add a lot of oil. So this is it. Our okra stew is looking delicious. Oh my God, I can't wait to eat this. I know my kids are not, I can't wait to eat this either. Okay, so my okra stew is done. It's ready. I'm gonna cover it, give it a 5 minutes to simmer, and then it will be ready to serve. Okay. So I still have a helper here. Helping out with the banku. So he's gonna stir it until it thickens up, and then when it thickens up, I will take it from him, and then I'll add some energy to make sure I get all the, all the lumps in. So as you can see, it is thickening up now, and I'm going to take it over from him. All right, thank you so much for helping me.
You're welcome.
Okay. Wow, as you can see, my stew is looking really, really, really delicious. And lastly, I'm gonna add some habanero pepper. Just crush it and just put it in here. It has its own flavor that it does. Okay, so you see what I was telling you about the oil? It just surfaced right there. That tells you that your stew is ready. You see? And you see how dry it looks without even the baking soda. Here we go. You see how it looks? Okay, so our stew, okra stew, is ready now. So I'm just gonna cover it halfway. Make sure you don't cover it all the way. You cover it all the way, it's gonna stop drawing. So I'm just gonna cover it halfway, and then I'm gonna cook the banku. So the banku is here, and now it's hardened. So I'm going to mash it up and make sure I get all the lumps out. Okay. So I'm just gonna mix it in, get all the lumps out. So our banku is looking good, as you can see. A lot of energy. Well, I'm going to add some water to soften it up because it's too thick. And I'm using a hot water. If you're using hot water, you can use cold water if you prefer. But if you use cold water, it slows down the process of cooking. The hot water, it's already hot, so you're good to go, and it's gonna boil up quickly as soon as you put it on there. So I'm going to cover it up and let it boil for at least 10 minutes. All right, let's sit for 8 minutes. It's not actually up to 10 minutes, but it was like 8 minutes. And I'm going to flip it over. You just flip it over. You flip it over gently so it doesn't go in your stove. Flip it over just like that. And then you're gonna mix it all in just like that. Slowly by slowly, little by little. Little by little. Just like that. So at this point, everything is mixed in nicely, and it looks good. Just the side, the texture I'm going in for. So I'm going to mold them and put them in portion so that they can last for a couple days and not go bad. Okay, so I'm going to get a mold. So I'll just use a plastic wrap to mold it to my shape that I want, and this is how I want it. I'm going to do it again. I scoop it up with my scoop, wrap it up, mold it up like this, just the way I want it. You can mold it in any kind of shape you want, but I'm molding it round. I usually have another way of molding, like a square. Same way, I'm going to repeat the process until everything is done. And once I'm molding, I'm wrapping them up. This will tend to be a little dry, so you have to stir it in. Make sure you get some heat in it whilst you mold it. Repeat the process. You can make it a little loose, a little softer than these, if that's how you prefer. But I make it a little not too soft, in between. That way you can eat it with fish, you can eat it with pepper, you can eat it with, regular sauce. Anything else can go with it. Alright, so it's time to eat our banku with our okra stew. Our okra stew. Here it is. Look how gorgeous our okra is looking. I can't wait. This is the goat meat. This is the fish. I got some wele. That's cow skin. Nigerians call it pomo. And I have my crab, aka Mr. Crab. Here it is. And I can't wait to enjoy these. Okay, sister girl Natasha, here you go. I have some okra ready over here. Okay. So thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, share, and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Until I meet again, I know the year is going to an end. It's almost 6 weeks for the year to end. If whatever your heart desire hasn't come to pass, I just hope and pray that you be patient and be encouraged in the Lord. That I know by the end of this year, whatever you've put in before God can be accomplished. All right? Thank you all so much and God bless you. Bye.